Hi, I am Tsipa Swan, and I am a master's student. This is my first term at CIIS. And yes, here we go. Here's my intro. Um, I'm going to use my notes so I don't get excited or nervous and distracted. Okay, so some of my passions are astrology, intersectional justice, like reproductive justice in particular, language, writing, pedagogy. I love words a lot. I love etymology. And I got my bachelor's in vocal performance, basically. And I was a professional opera singer and choral singer before I became a certified life coach in like 2015. And I'm also a certified psychic medium and Reiki healer, and I trained as a birth doula. And I used to work as a professional fiber artist, a professional knitter, and I like a lot of fiber arts. And I'm currently getting my certification in Hellenistic astrology. I have been mostly pursuing a more psychological and evolutionary approach. I really love Stephen Forrest in particular, but I wanted a more rigorous setup for my astrology knowledge to like a structure to hang all of my knowledge on. Know the rules so I can choose which ones to break. I am somewhat recently and very proudly diagnosed as autistic and ADHD for those of you who are familiar with the term. And I love to learn a bit about a lot of things. So some of my interests lately have been gardening, carpentry, getting back into math, not like fancy math, just like high school math. And I started tutoring. And I am a stepmom to two girls. They're 7 and 10. My partner and I have them half the time, and we all live a little bit north of Seattle. But I lived my first couple decades in Tucson, and I lived my second couple decades in Portland, Oregon, which is where I was born. Um, okay. I was first drawn to CIIS because I found Richard Tarnas via Chris Brennan's astrology work, and upon investigation, it showed a very the schools showed a very self-aware and supportive culture, which is really important to me. I've had some very positive, but also some very negative uh, experiences in higher education and education in general. Um, so I really appreciate the earnestness of the faculty and the staff and the students that I've met so far. I think everyone's been very welcoming, but also very willing to be human. Um, and I appreciate that the mission statement is being taken very seriously. So that's a really important thing to me because, and maybe because, but I don't know, it seems related to me to the autism where like, if you say that here are the rules and here's what we're doing, I believe you. And so there are a lot of places where that is not true. And I hope that it continues to be true here at CIS because it means a lot to me. The philosophy program in particular appealed to me because of all the respect and support for astrology, but also because I've just spent my life grappling with questions that people don't seem to want to discuss, but they don't let me go, which I think is another way of saying I think too much. um, and I've just always been fascinated with thought and the options of how how to interact with thought and thinking in a way, like how much power that has over your life. I remember reading Jonathan Livingston Seagull when I was 7, and I was just blown away because it showed me that you could just choose to think differently than anything you had evidence for, even if nobody else agreed. And I've that's always been very exciting for me. So finding other people to talk about all of these things with and go down rabbit holes with, and people who to participate in these conversations, but also push me through direct and indirect, modeling and interactions to deepen and strengthen my own skills and my awareness and my thinking abilities is very exciting and very um, delicious. I'm tactile and it's like it just feels good. Okay, so another uh, set of things that I know about myself. I have a strong spiritual connection. I don't know how to describe it terribly well, other than I let spirit tell me what to do as much as I can, because I'm not good at strategy, and whatever the bigger thing is seems to be quite good at it. So when I write, I'm just kind of listening, and I get the words and I put them down. When I am doing coaching mediumship, I'm, setting Tsipa over here and then being the voice. And I've had a few experiences of, well, I don't know how many, but a number of experiences of like actual spiritual intervention. Like I heard a voice. I think this is the clearest time it's really happened, but I heard a voice about 5 years ago tell me, like, give me instructions. It said, "You're going to church today," and I was like, "Not a church girl. Not sure if that one's meant for me." And it said it again, and so I went to the only church I knew, which was this like kind of hippie church in Portland, and some very significant life events happened. That's how I met my current partner. And yeah, so I really enjoy having room to talk about that and to acknowledge that that's a significant part of my life. I don't think anybody else has to do anything my way, but that's a way that is important to me. So there you go. I love beautiful things. I love making beautiful things. I like making things beautiful. Like I said, I used to teach knitting, and I was a knitwear designer. I've done a lot of sewing. I do calligraphy and needlework. I have done a lot of making stage props and doing stage makeup and costumes. And that was a large part of my path to opera. I went to a jazz program at what used to be a really amazing community college outside of Portland. They had like a nationally renowned jazz program, and I kind of caught it on the decline, but it was still really good. And then I went to university after that, and I just love college. I just love learning. I love classes. And so I took a lot of classes, a lot of electives I really did not need to take. I took like Shakespeare and stage makeup, which you think would be required for an opera major, but they're not. And I took like sociology and medieval French and languages. I've studied a handful of languages. I remember some of most of them. And diction, I was a really big fan of diction. I think that ties into teaching. I'll get into that in a minute. I made a list. So, and then like the art of acting, like the skill and the art of acting. So I got really into Uta Hagen's approach to acting, and I think she's amazing. If you don't know who she is, we can talk about it. If you do, we can talk about it. She's dope. Okay. I stopped singing. I was really disaffected by a lot of the nepotism and just the artificiality that I felt in opera, at least in the areas, the places I was at, the people I was around. And I didn't, that earnestness that I mentioned earlier, I didn't feel that. It felt like there were a lot of people being very self-serving about it, and really thinking about what opera could do for them, and how opera was like opera's role was to get them on stage. And I feel like morally offended at the idea that Mozart, for example, is not a tool to put you on stage. Mozart's job is to be Mozart, and it's exquisite, and it's not, I don't know. I just, it felt distasteful to me, and really frustrating. And I began to be very, very unhappy doing that. So I decided to stop doing opera. I also developed a trachea issue, which you might be able to hear a little bit of raspiness in my voice. I have something called ankylosing spondylitis, which is another thing. It's like actually, I didn't think those words were going to come out of my mouth. It's like a juvenile onset form of arthritis. Mine's in remission. But what I was going to say, if I have something called tracheal stenosis, which is like a growth in my trachea that tries to close off my airway. I have had 15 surgeries on it, and some other like in-office procedures, and it's just kind of, right now it's just a thing that just happens. So I'll probably be getting surgery again soon. And I'm really grateful for modern medicine because it's, that's why I can breathe, which I like doing. The first time that happened, we didn't know what was going on for a really long time, and I was dying. And the Tao Te Ching, I found the Tao Te Ching, and it saved my life. I really believe it saved my life because I found this. I was able to find equilibrium in facing my own demise, and once I really achieved that, it felt like almost bliss. I felt almost bliss in it, and that is the point at which I was diagnosed very quickly and got surgery very quickly. And so I believe the Tao Te Ching saved my life. So shout out to Lao Tzu. See, I have worked as a social worker for teen moms in state custody. And I then became a life coach. I got certified through a school that is kind of culty. In retrospect, it's much cultier than I'm happy with. So I don't do things the way they taught me to do it. I rejected it fairly quickly, but there were also many good things about it. I also, after I did that, I discovered my clair abilities. So I'm primarily clairsentient and claircognizant. So clairsentient is you feel what somebody else is feeling, and claircognizant is you know things without knowing why you know them. And I did a program called Mama Gina's School of Womanly Arts in New York. I trained as a psychic, and I started doing past life hypnosis and like past life coaching on myself. And I got into astrology that way. I developed my own sort of version of the coach training that I got. And for lack of a better word, I call it the framework. And it was like me and, this thing did that together, and it's been very satisfying. And I've stepped a lot away from coaching because I'm very disaffected with a lot of the unhealthy capitalist practices and deliberate, like intentional trainings that I see. And I'm still working my way through that. But I think that a focus on the natural world is really going to be the thing that that rounds out what I'm feeling my way towards in that. I love writing. I think I said that, but I studied writing at school with Ursula Le Guin's good friend. Her name's Katya Amato. She is also deceased now. She's a delight. And then I'm in a writer's salon with some really incredible writers. They're all women, and one of them is Simone de Beauvoir's protege. Her name's Claudine Montet. So if anybody wants to meet a very passionate and assertive 75-year-old French feminist, she's a delight, and she's very generous with her mentorship. And I'd be happy to introduce anybody who wants to meet her. I've written a million essays and just like musings and jottings and things, and a couple of children's books I haven't published. My writing coach assures me that I have, in fact, in that written several books, and that I'm currently working on another book. So we'll see about that. She says I need to start publishing things. I will try to do what she says, but it's, a terrifying prospect. I think learning and teaching is my biggest through line. I've taught sex ed and knitting, and there's a lot of teaching in doula work, birth doula work. I don't remember if I said I did that. I trained as a birth doula. The social work, I taught parenting and life skills. I've taught like diction and music theory, and I taught voice, and I teach astrology. And I just love it. I love learning things so that I can teach somebody. I like when someone doesn't know how to do something and asks me, and then I figure it out for and with them. It's one of my favorite feelings in the world to get to do that. I think it's I'm very Venusian. I'm very Venus ruled. I have like 8, I think, placements ruled by Venus in my chart. And I think that one of my strongest forms of connection is the learning and the shared shared curiosity. So yeah, that's a fun thing. Lord, I really don't remember if I said this already or not. I'm sorry, but I'm not a strategic person. I love strategy. I think strategy is amazing. I think people who can like play chess or do political strategy or anything, I think it's fascinating and wonderful, and I'm not that way. So I find that I do best if I just decide what I want and then follow directions from, God, universe, spirit, whatever. And that's how I got here. I wasn't going to finish my application, but I got the email prompts and I was like, okay, I'm just going to get it done. And then I got in and I was like, okay, I'm not going to say yes because it's expensive and it's going to be complicated and hard and like, I don't have the time. And then my client sent me the letter of recommendation that he wrote, and it reminded me of a version of myself that I have not seen as much as I've been busied with parenting and mundane, just doing life things. And I decided I really wanted to take that back. So I said yes, and everything just keeps kind of working out, which is amazing. And I'm thrilled to be here. I am going through my Uranus opposition. I've had Uranus, Taurus is my first house, so I've had Uranus in my first house since 2019. And I actually kind of get 3 Uranus oppositions because it's just turned retrograde after hitting a degree off of opposition of my natal Uranus, and it's going to retrograde back, and then it's going to come back again. So it's just dancing back and forth over my ascendant, and it's a lot, but yay, transformation. I have rejection trauma. I was to get into the the CPTSD part of my life. The trachea issue that I had was very, very traumatic. It was a hard road to get there, and I've had a number of other situations. And then I was both emotionally neglected and seriously bullied as a child, and then through school. So I will do my best to not not place that on anyone, and just to process things as it comes up. But yeah, I think there's been some really amazing sharing so far of personal things, and I wanted to I appreciate that generosity so much of the people who have shared their struggles, and I wanted to share that of mine because it is something that I find myself dealing with, rejecting myself and imagining rejection from other people or experiencing rejection from other people. And yeah, it's a dance. It's a dance that continues. So I will do my best with that. I think I do pretty well, but there's always room for growth. And then that's kind of some heavy stuff. So I wanted to end with a list of nice things, easy things, just things I like, things to think about. The Mediterranean. I went to the south of France 2 years ago, and I've been dreaming about it ever since. It's incredible. It's like, I don't know, maybe I got exceptionally lucky, but it was just the most beautiful place I've ever been. And it was like warm, and I felt like the sea loved me. It was like, it was all gentle and lovely. And yeah, so if that's not a place like that for you, then I hope you have a place that is a lovely favorite place. Fresh hot cup of tea. There's like nothing quite like very fresh hot tea. It's just fabulous. I know there's some other gardeners in here. I'm going to give myself like a B at gardening. I am fairly new to it, but I am doing a pretty darn good job at not killing plants. So I feel great about that. And I think, so the nice thing there is eating anything that you grew yourself. It's just such a privilege in our modern world to be able to grow something that you can eat. It's just a miracle. this time of year, we're starting to get all this like golden end of summery light, and I love that. And I hope that wherever you are, you get some too. The Hymn to Saint Cecilia by Benjamin Britten. It's just a phenomenal choral piece, and it's criminally underappreciated. And also, all the versions I've heard online are really quiet, so you have to really crank it. But it's just sublime. It is just sublime, and I think Benjamin Britten is just a genius, just a marvelous genius. So for your enjoyment. And then babies in Halloween costumes are really funny because they think they're normal and they don't know that they've been dressed up in a costume, and it feels like a very gentle prank. So, I don't know. It's just a list of fun things. And then I really appreciate all the different ways we're showing up here. I think everyone's here in an earnest effort to do our best for ourselves and also with and for each other. And I really appreciate that. So yeah, I think it's at least a bit more the case here than average. So thank you for being a part of that, and thank you for listening. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.